The domain name system, or DNS, is how your computer knows what website to pull up when you type in a domain name. The DNS maps the domain name to the IP address that they represent. I'm going to give you a very quick history on IP addresses here. So every computer has an IP address. An IP address is a series of 4 numbers separated by a dot. 69.171.22.16, for example. In order to connect a computer with another computer via the internet, you need to know the IP addresses. Since IP addresses are not very easy to remember, I'm guessing you wouldn't remember that one I just gave you if you didn't have the screen in front of you. We use friendly domain names that quickly connect to an IP address. So when you go to visit someone's website, you go to a browser and type in a domain name that you can easily remember, not an IP address that might be difficult to remember. The DNS is made up of millions of computers called servers, and each server has a list of names and corresponding IP addresses. So our servers here at Profusion, we have a list of domain names that live on those servers and their corresponding IP addresses. When you register a domain name, the DNS for that domain name is essentially blank. There's no corresponding IP address. When you're ready to take a website live on a domain name, we'll tell you, so Profusion will tell you, to point the DNS to our servers. This may be something you've never done before. Pointing the DNS to our servers happens at the registrar. We need that username and password to that registrar in order to go in and point the DNS to our servers. Basically what this will do is it tells the domain name what IP address to connect with when someone types in that domain name. If the website is brand new, changing the DNS and setting that up is easy because there's no what we call pre-existing conditions. There's no domain-based email that already exists that gets used on a daily basis. There's no website statistics that are already used. There's no potential subdomains on that website that are being used. So for a new website, changing the DNS is very, very simple. On an existing website, there are 3 records that we might talk to you about. So if we're taking a website live, if we're redoing a website and taking it from somebody else's servers and hosting it on our servers, there's 3 different records that we might talk to you about. They are the A record, the MX record, and the SPF record. The A record actually determines the IP address for the website. So when someone goes to their browser and opens up their browser and types in a domain name, the A record is actually the IP address that the website lives on. The MX record is the IP address for the email. MX stands for mail exchange. So there could be a separate IP address for email versus the domain name. And then the SPF record stands for Sender Policy Framework. And this is the list of authorized hosts or IP addresses that email can originate from this domain name. So if you're using a third-party email marketing program like MailChimp or Constant Contact, we're going to want to update the SPF record with some additional information from those providers. So now that you know those 3 key terms there, A record, MX, and SPF, if we're taking a website live that is an existing website, so if they've already had a site up on this domain name, then we may decide, instead of changing the domain name servers to our servers to point to Profusion servers, that we may just have you update the A record with the new IP address for that website. That way they can keep email where it is and keep everything else on their domain the way it is. We might just be updating the A record to take the new website live. Or we may change the DNS to our servers and then point the MX record, that mail exchange record, back to a third-party server for hosting email. We have this ahead of time. We can set our plan. We can make sure that we know exactly what we need to execute when the site is ready to go live.